an energetic process, the layers, concepts, and a protocol to assist you in moving into greater degrees of empowerment, which could also be framed in the stance of greater inner power. And the journey is about retrieving your power, holding your power, being in gratitude for your power, valuing your power, holding your power vertically and internally, which then moves you into a level of integrity. In previous incarnations, or maybe in this incarnation, you might have used your power on others. You might have taken the power of others that you thought were doing wrong. That is us using our power horizontally. The moment that we use our power horizontally, we engage in a codependent, disconnected, disempowered dynamic that has high levels of empathic sensitivity and cultivates negative karma. And so the stance is holding your power vertically inside yourself, using your power, which has to do with your creative energy, your psychic energy, your healing energy, all of your creative threads, your sexual energy on yourself and yourself for yourself, moving you into greater empowerment. But one of the key mechanisms that we use to move into greater degrees of power empowerment is returning and retrieving responsibilities appropriately. When there is a need, there is responsibility, meaning I have a need for safety. If I hold responsibility for that need for safety internally in my line of light, I am empowered with that need. If I give responsibility for safety to another, I then disempower myself and immediately become the victim. If I take responsibility for the safety of another, I now disempower them and move into high levels of empathic sensitivity. We also move into high levels of empathic sensitivity when we give responsibility for a need away, because now we are energetically holding our focus externally, hoping that these people in our life will meet our need. And so, one of the most empowering mechanisms for moving into greater power is returning and retrieving responsibility appropriately. Taking a deep breath in, using your inhale, your intent, your imagination, your energetic fields to pull yourself into your divine line. Just take a moment to maybe place your hand upon your heart chakra and feel into the 3 to 5 needs that are your top priorities. Maybe it's safety, maybe it's support, maybe it's appreciation, respect, connection, fulfillment, freedom, control, calm. And maybe even make a list of your top 3 to 5 needs. And this is you, soul rider, your body, your teams, just letting yourself be in the group field of what are our top 3 to 5 needs. What do we value most right now in our current journey? Recognizing that as you evolve, your needs change. So you are in a very different place than you were 10 years ago. You have very different needs than when you were 2. And so just jot down those needs. And as you make that list, play with the idea that because those are your top needs, you may have given and taken simultaneously responsibility for those needs. You gave people responsibility for honoring your top needs, and you took responsibility for these needs for other people because you really value it. So when we are in patterns, familiar patterns, societal patterns, programming from many incarnations, we naturally give and take responsibility for our top needs, top priorities. And so with that awareness, then holding your awareness in your divine line, deep breath in, shift gears, and invite your higher self, your body, Divas higher self, your teams to work with the energetic fields and the guides to return and retrieve responsibility for these needs back to their right and perfect place. And you're just in this silent mantra, return and retrieve responsibilities appropriately for my top needs or my highest needs, my priorities of my needs. Return and retrieve responsibility for these needs. Return and retrieve responsibility for these needs. Using my energetic self to return and retrieve responsibility for these needs. Retrieving responsibility for these needs off of everyone and everything. Returning responsibility for these needs back to everyone at the level of their higher selves where they have the capacity to receive it. Retrieving responsibility for all these needs off of everyone and everything because they're probably not masters of it, and so they really couldn't meet my need. Retrieving responsibility for these needs. You have mastery of this to a certain degree. Retrieve responsibility for meeting those needs deep in your core, in your divine line, divine cosmic loop, where you actually can meet those needs. It's a vibrational need of safety, of connection, of fulfillment, of joy. Keep retrieving and returning responsibility appropriately for these needs that you do value. Body Deva especially, return and retrieve responsibilities appropriately for all these needs. And hold space for that energetic aspect of you, your body, and your teams to return and retrieve responsibilities appropriately. And see if you can feel a level of empowerment kicking in as you return and retrieve responsibilities appropriately for these core needs of yours, for the core needs of body and your teams. And then as you return and retrieve responsibilities, invite your higher self, body, Deva's higher self, and teams to return all empathic sensations that were linked with these needs. Returning the responsibility and the empathic sensations and the karma and the behaviors and the thought forms and the emotions back to its right and perfect place along with appropriate energetic information. When we value something, we have mastery of it, which means we have valuable information. So instead of taking responsibility for meeting the needs of safety for someone, send them information. Send them information. Return the responsibilities, return the empathic sensations. That's their fuel for their growth and evolution. So as you send the information, return the empathic sensations, return and retrieve responsibility. You now have the ability to use your higher self, your body, Deva's higher self, your teams, your energetic fields, weaving grids of greater empowerment that are in alignment with your mastery, with what you value, with the vibrational fabric of safety or kindness or integrity or joy or freedom or flow or stillness or calm, a combination of all of these, peace, weaving that vibrational fabric around you, holding that vibration in your divine line, divine cosmic loop, being empowered by being in that waterfall of what you value, that you have cultivated, you've spent lifetimes cultivating in this vibrational stream of energy in your core. And then taking a deep breath, updating your grids, all your reference points, all ways in which you perceive. That is a powerful practice to assist you in moving into greater degrees of empowerment, embracing your power. And then we don't project what we value externally, and we don't get pummeled, to be humbled with our mastery. Now we are modeling a strong, coherent field because we're only attached to us being what we value for our own selves, which then actually empowers others because we're not taking responsibility for their journey. Then they actually feel empowered in our presence instead of less than. Oh, deep breath in, balance, stabilize, and see if you feel a shift.